Let's focus on vaccinations and how it's going to roll out across South Africa. Kwazulu-Natal has identified 91 vaccination sites. Premier Sihle Zikalala saying today the province will welcome its share of the COVID-19 vaccine in mid-January. Now, Zikalala briefed the media earlier today, painting a picture of how KwaZulu-Natal is doing in the fight against the pandemic. And our reporter Mwanda Keswa has been monitoring that briefing, and he joins us now. Mwanda, before we get to reaction from the unions about the arrival of the vaccine, tell us what the Premier had to say about how the province is coping with COVID-19. It was one of the hotspot provinces over the past 2 months.
Hi, Sally. Well, one of the things that the Premier did say is that while numbers are on the decline, if I'm not mistaken, the province is still number 2 if you look at the number of infections in the country. He also did speak about the fact that although there has been a decrease in the number of deaths that are recorded daily, over the past 2 weeks there's been an average of about 75 deaths per day. He also spoke about the fact that there are districts as well that are recording numbers that may be of a concern. And one of those districts, if I'm not mistaken, is the Mgungundlovu district that is recording about 85 deaths per 100,000 people as far as the population, or rather 124 deaths per 100,000 population. So those are some of the areas that he touched on as far as those figures are concerned. However, most of the numbers, including the daily infections, etc., are on the decline when we compare it to now and the 1st of December. And that's when we started witnessing a peak in the number of admissions, hospital admissions, the number of deaths, as well as the number of daily infections.
Right, it's a stark reminder that we're not out of the woods yet. We're all starting to breathe a sigh of relief, and that, looking at those numbers, is a sign that it could be premature. There are people dying every day from this virus. But of course, the news of the arrival of the vaccine, Mwanda, has brought a lot of hope, and I know that you've heard from the unions as well. Tell us about that.
Really, there is quite a bit of hope. Particularly, we spoke to DENOSA now. It is worth noting that there has been quite a rough relationship between the departments in the province as well as DENOSA. From the onset, DENOSA was raising issues around PPE. There was an issue whether or not is it the correct PPE, are healthcare workers using it correctly. So things did seem to kind of iron themselves out in terms of the communication between the two parties, where they were starting to see eye to eye. At this point, they have welcomed the arrival of the vaccines into the country as well as the pending arrival into the province. Let's take a listen.
So we appreciate that finally we have received the vaccine. Also, we also appreciate that there is a willingness in working together between the Department of Health and private sector in ensuring that the vaccine reach those that are expected to get it.
I wonder, what did the KwaZulu-Natal Premier say about the arrival of vaccines in that province?
Well, the Premier was clear in stating that Valentine's Day is the day in which they expect to receive the vaccines in the province. Let's take a listen.
The vaccine will arrive in the province of KwaZulu-Natal on the 14th of February. Staff in direct contact with patients will be prioritized. To date, the province has identified 91 vaccination sites, which will include all public hospitals and community health care centers.
And the Premier also touched on school readiness in KwaZulu-Natal. Fill us in.
The Premier has said that as far as school readiness is concerned, they will be ready by the 15th of February, which is the day that is set for schools to reopen. He has said that deliveries are currently ongoing, deliveries for equipment as well as items such as stationery, which he says at least 96% has been delivered, and the remainder will be delivered come the 15th. However, when I spoke to SATU, they were of a different perspective, stating that the Premier is counting the chickens before they hatch. Let's take a listen.
On paper, they can have plans, but practically, you go to schools now, you find that the principals themselves are not sure. They have no clarity, they have no information, as there are still schools that are still contesting their post allocation, as they feel that they were shortchanged by the Department of Education in terms of the allocation of the number of teachers against the number of learners they have.